What it do, YouTube? This Big Yo representing one half of Martial Law, and I want to welcome y'all to the Martial Law Productions YouTube channel. This particular video, I want to talk about why I sold my Apollo X6.
Martial Law Productions.
First, I want to say Happy New Year to everybody, and I hope you had a great holiday. It's going to be the first video of our channel, and I just want to start off by saying there's going to be a lot more content coming. We're going to try to keep it consistent, trying to help everybody get better, help the music get better, and, just have fun at the same time. A lot of people probably going to look at me crazy because surely, right now, Apollo is the industry standard. Like, that's what everybody using. People got the small Apollo X's. They got the big rack units, and I had the Apollo X6. And I sold it because of this right here. This is the Antelope Zen Go, the little small unit. Now, I know some people saying in their mind, dude, you crazy. Well, let me explain. This is my mobile unit. So I had a Apollo Twin I was using at first, but it just, I had an older one. I didn't have the newer one. So it sounded kind of like dull. So I was looking for something else, and I was always interested in the Antelope line. I was always interested in the interfaces and all the stuff that they had going on, but they were very, very expensive at the time. I decided to pull the trigger on the Antelope Audio Zen Go. I seen it I think I was at Guitar Center looking around for a small interface just for me when I'm traveling and moving around, and I ran across that Zen Go. They had it for like 250 bucks or something. So I was like, well, let me try it. That'll kind of get me acclimated to the Antelope sound. And when I got it and I started using it, I just noticed that it had this smooth character about it. It was very pristine sounding. Like it just had a very smooth sound to it as opposed to what I was used to with the Apollo. I started recording, when I go back home to Memphis, I would record different people. And I set everything up at my mom's house upstairs. And I would have guys come by and they record different songs or wanted songs mixed. So, I always had my little mobile interface with me. So I recorded a song with one of my guys. And when I came back and mixed the song, he pointed out, man, those vocals sound better than your big studio stuff. And, I listened. And I had to acknowledge it. It was like a clarity that wasn't present on my Apollo X6. I started doing a little bit more research and started giving it, just doing more songs and using the plugins that came with the unit. And then I started buying plugins to go with it. And I just got this clarity that I just was not getting from the Apollo X6 unit. What I did was I went ahead and I bought a Discreet 4. So when I bought the Discreet 4, I was kind of using it as a front end interface and connected it to my X6 and through ADAT. And what I did was I was recording my vocals through there, and it was a difference. So I compared the two, and it was just this difference that I heard, and it was this smoothness of the sound, because I even clocked X6 from that unit. I was like, it's a no-brainer for me. You know, I wanted to kind of move over into the analog world. And one thing I always wanted a summon mixer. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on that Neve Orbit unit. But with my X6, I only had 6 outputs. So I was debating, do I just go and get like some external output units? Like I would have to buy like 2 to connect to my Apollo, or do I just pull the trigger on an antelope interface that had 16 outputs already? And I was on Reverb shopping around, and I just so happened to run across the Antelope Orion Studio. I immediately grabbed it. It was at a price point that I couldn't pass up, so I immediately grabbed it. And those 16 outputs and all the inputs that they gave me, because I have outboard gear, I have a bunch of rack units and compressors and a bunch of different things, so it just worked out for me. Like I needed more ins and outs, and if I went and bought another Apollo, it was gonna be way more expensive than what I paid for the Antelope unit. Now the Antelope unit, brand new, the Orion Studio Synergy core is $3,000, but I got it almost less than half of that. So I had to grab it. And when I say it's like my monitors are brand new, they just sound like they have a sound that I never heard before. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Well, I do know what it is. It's the new unit. Just the quality of the sound itself is worth the money for me. And I can say, and even some of my clients tell me this, my sound quality has increased exponentially, way more so than I had when I had the Apollos. And that's not to knock Apollo, but let's go back. So I started with the Apogee Symphony unit, the Mark I, and I had this issue. Like, it sounded great, but for some reason, maybe it was me, but for some reason I could not get a cohesive mix from that unit. It just sounded like everything was in its own space. So anytime I would do a song, it just sounded like all the instruments were separate. I could hear everything, but I couldn't get the sounds to melt together. Then I started looking into the Apollo. A friend of mine, he put me on to the Apollo units, and I went ahead and bought the Apollo Black. And it gave me this analog type of sound where the top end was kind of rolled off. It didn't really have that mid-rangey, whatever quality that the Apogee Symphony had. And it was just more analog sounding, is the best way I can put it. And I was getting good results from that. You know, I got good mixes, and I love being able to use plug-ins on the way in, like the compressors and the preamp models. I love that about it. When the X6 came out, well, I really wanted 8 inputs because, like I said, I got outboard units and outboard rack units, but it was too expensive. So I bought I wanted the X8, but I bought the X6. I made it work. Like I said, the UA software is super solid, and I heard all of these bad things about Antelope before, so I was happy at the moment. But like I said, when I finally picked that small unit up and I heard it compared to just the X6 unit, it was a no-brainer. I was always fascinated also by Antelope's in and outs. Like, they always had way more in and outs than the Apollos and all these other units. You would have to pay $4,000 and $5,000 to get the amount of in and outs that you get with the Antelope audio straight out the box. 16 outputs of D-sub analog outputs, and then I got 16 outputs of ADAT, and just multiple, I got about 12 inputs on the analog side. So it was just more than enough for what I needed. It was all in one unit. I didn't have to go and buy multiple units. I didn't have to go and buy extenders and all that kind of stuff. Another thing I liked about the Antelope, just like the Apollo, I like being able to use plugins going in. The interface, I will say, if you get into the Antelope line, the interface has a bit of a learning curve, but once you get past that, you shouldn't have any problem. The plugins sound just as good, but they're much cheaper. I do a lot of research before I buy something, but I was trying to do a comparison. So I looked up the X6 and I compared it to the Orion Studio, and I did it online. I did it on Google. I typed it in. It just leads you down a rabbit hole. You find so many different links and so many different people saying different things. I also went on a forum. I guess it was an Apollo forum or whatever, just, to see if anybody had discussed it. A lot of times I go to Gear Sluts and get some information from there, but I was getting kind of the same stuff over and over. When I looked it up, everybody would talk about how unstable or how the software just didn't work right, or how unstable the unit is, and how many issues they had, and when they tried to call customer support, they didn't get anything. But I hadn't had one issue. The software works fine with my Mac. I'm running a Mac Studio. Software works fine. I don't do much upgrading when I'm dealing with software. I try to wait until I'm kind of behind, because Mac tends to change stuff very quickly, and it messes up your plugins and all that, and I don't like going through that. So I try my best not to upgrade too quickly. When I loaded it and started everything up, I can't say I had one issue with either unit, the small one or the big unit, and they work fine with my Mac. Well, that's about it. Hope you guys learned a little bit. We're gonna be doing more content this year, more than ever. This is like my first video, so I hope you guys liked it. If you will, give me a thumbs up and give me a comment down below, whether it's good or bad, and be looking out for more content coming soon. There's gonna be a link tree in the comments where you can check out some of the music we produce and some of the artists we work with over time. Also, if you're looking for mixing, mastering, or production, or recording, if you're in the Atlanta area or in the Memphis area, hit me up on Instagram, Marshall, that's MARSHALL _law_media. All right, Big Yo, baby, I'm out.